綾井が好きだったのも事実で、嫌いになったのも事実で、矛盾するのに両方間違っていない。それが苦しかった。僕は解放されたのだが、その数日後、
水戸、お前の兄弟になる綾井ゆめさんだ。
Talk about the perfect representation of teen love. Mizuto and Yume really showed off exactly what teen love is all about, and this episode was excellently, like, just perfectly written and choreographed and directed. And I really think it showed off all the trials and tribulations, the hurdles, the hurt, the pain, the happiness of teen love. And this episode was a really, really good representation of two people, two children, essentially, lacking emotional maturity to deal with things that is well above their, I don't want to say, I guess the word would be pay grade, but it's really above their age grade. And this episode represented that Yume and Mizuto were just not emotionally mature enough to deal with some of the things that they have dealt with. And they both lacked emotional maturity from both ends in different ways. And this really showed on how a lot of young teen love ends up kind of like falling out, falling through the cracks, crumbling, not being successful, falling out of love, getting mad, getting angry, getting sad, getting hurt. And I think they really captured what teen love is and how it can fall apart. Like, I am completely convinced at whoever the creator is of this show, of this source material, either they, like, I am convinced that they had to have gone through a similar breakup, whether they were in middle school or high school or even in their later years. I feel like they really captured a relationship, a young relationship falling apart. And I thought it was gracefully handled and really represented really well. And, you know, depending on how, you know, depending on your love that you've had in your life, the many loves that you've potentially had through your lives, this, you could basically very well empathize and kind of put yourself in either of their shoes, whether it be Mizuto or Yume, and you might have had the same feelings as one of them. You might have had jealousy towards your significant other spending time with others, or you may have had jealousy being confused at a situation but not being able to let go, even though you know that it wasn't real. And these are real things that end up happening and ruining and crumbling people's relationships, is that insecurity that they have. And that insecurity is really derivative of their age, and it really drives the emotional maturity that they just simply lack, that almost everybody, 99.9% of everyone lacks at 12, 13, 14 years old. And I just think that it was really done very, very well. The one thing that I will note, before I talk about the rest of the episode, because I think it was excellent, the one thing that I will note, and that I had, so here's the thing, if you guys didn't know, if you guys can't tell from this beautiful face, I'm an old man, you know what I mean? Like, I'm an old man, I have 2 children, and although I also got into dating at a young age, I didn't start dating until I was in 8th grade, you know, and it was very light dating. Nothing serious happened until 9th grade and beyond. So I also started young, not 7th grade young, but 8th grade, you know, so I could definitely empathize. But then my old man moment came out this episode, because the beginning of the episode, I was like, yo, are they going to have sex or what? Like, what's going on here? They're both fidgeting. But the old man part of me was like, yo, but they're like 13, 14. Like, these kids shouldn't be effing. Like, you know, what the hell's going on? And then I immediately thought, like, of my kids. I was like, yo, my daughter, like, if in 6 years she's having these thoughts, like, I'm gonna blow up this effing house. You know what I mean? Like, I was immediately perturbed. So I had to let you guys know I had an old man moment. I had a yelling at yelling at kids at my lawn moment in this episode. It's just because I have kids too. I'm like, yo, don't you guys think about effing, especially in my house. So I had to let you guys know that. But outside of that, there's two different correlations that happen that ended the relationship. The main root of it is lack of communication between Yume and lack of communication between Mizuto, and them both being able to have the maturity to step up and actually communicate. I do think that in this episode, it was represented really well that Mizuto is slightly more mature because he was able to come out and apologize and at least attempt to begin that communication string. I do think Yume probably lacked the maturity a little bit more, which typically in these situations, it's usually the girl who has more maturity than the male. But because of the type of person Mizuto is, he tended to have a little more maturity. But then when it counted, he had a lot of immaturity. So here's the two avenues this episode went down. Is one, you had them go through a year of turmoil, basically like a year of their relationship, like from start to finish in a year, right? From 7th grade to 8th grade, right before high school. So you had what happened here was dependency. It was a dependency thing. So you had Mizuto and Yume spark a relationship, and they both found something in each other that neither of them had. On Yume's side, it was somebody to cherish, to hold, to talk with, and grow with, and learn from, and reciprocate from, and to have that heartwarming feelings, and to meet every day, and to fill a void, essentially, that she had, on top of other things that come with having a boyfriend, to fill a void of friendship that she was just simply lacking because of her personality. On the opposite side, you had Mizuto, who is very, his personality type is very, he doesn't need socialistic experiences. He doesn't need, he doesn't need to be social. He doesn't need to have a big group of friends. He's not seeking that. That's not something that he's seeking out. He can be social if need be. He has those skills, but he prefers to be more to himself, and that's the type of person that he is. His void was being able to share the things that he enjoys with somebody, which he ended up finding in Yume. So the two ways it went down was Yume gets a friend, right? She finally is able to kind of break out of her shell and get friends, and she looks at Mizuto to support her and be happy for her, which initially he is. But because what ends up happening is that ends up pulling Yume away more and more from the time that they would spend dedicated to each other, Mizuto begins to kind of resent her friends and this new version of her who's always seeking out affirmation and attention from others, even though that they're just females, even though they're just girls. Also, it's the fact that she's constantly seeking that out, and it's pulling her away from him. So the time that they would spend together has diminished by like 50% or more. So he's beginning to resent her new friends because of that. And he's like, when we're together, like, I'm happy that you have a friend. I don't give a shit, though. I just want to talk to you and spend time with you. I don't really care about your friends, which is a common feeling that a lot of people go through, even in old age. It's like, I don't really care about what your friends did. Like, if you want to tell me something that you did, I'm all for it. But if it has to do with others, I don't care about them. And that's a very common thing that happens in a lot of relationships and with a lot of different individuals and a lot of different things. So he begins to resent her because of that. On the opposite side, Yume begins to have certain feelings of like, why aren't you interested in what I'm telling you? Why aren't you interested in this? And because she's not realizing that his resentment is there, he begins to pull away. So the things that she comes to expect of him just always being there, he's no longer there. But she's not thinking, I'm doing that, or vice versa. She's simply thinking of, he's not there where he's supposed to be. Like, he's beginning to push me away because he's not there. So she's having to then go and give extra effort to go seek him out. And when she does, he's acting a certain type of way because of these other feelings that he has, which is causing him to be short, ill-tempered, not really show her attention, pushing her away. Then where the main thing comes in is they both have this communication breakup, essentially to where they're not communicating with each other. She puts false expectations on him to be at a summer festival, but she never told him to be there, so he's not there. He doesn't keep his promises to her. We're gonna celebrate Valentine's Day. We're gonna celebrate here and that, and those things. That initiation for the anniversary, the initiation for Christmas, the initiation to see each other in summer. Yes, it is a two-way street, but that damn well needs to come from Mizuto. He needs to be reaching out of like, hey, let's get together for this and get together for that. And he knows damn well he wants to do it, but he doesn't do any of the effort. And that is, I don't care what anybody says, that's a man's job to reach out first. Yes, the woman can reach out, the girl, in this case, the little girl can reach out first, but it's the man's job. It's the boy's job to do that first. Like, he needs to go and reach out to her. And he failed on all accounts. So that led to them having graduation day and him bringing up, let's just break up, because he was so kind of done with it. And on her side, even if that maybe isn't the case, she wanted to maybe extend a hand and not have it be over yet, which would have been real awkward a few days later. But she didn't do that because she also felt some type of way. So they just amicably agreed to break up. And then a few days later, they met each other's parents that got together. And they're in this awkward situation. The one thing that this did bring to light, though, was the fact that the time that they broke up and the time they got together, it seemed like there was a huge 1 or 2 year gap between it. Like, so they're more mature now. But really, they're just as immature, if not maybe a little bit more mature than before. But their breakup is very recent. We're talking a couple of months, a couple of weeks, a couple of days, as opposed to longer. So that came as a shock to me. But best episode of the season yet. I went on way too long. If you're still here, thank you for watching. Really good episode of My Stepmom's Ex. Really enjoyed it. I won't talk longer. I'll see you guys next week. This is the best episode yet. All right. Peace out, my friends.